International Committee of the Red Cross, not Hamas, not lefty propagandists, the most neutral third party that exists in the fucking world. This is what Hutch is disagreeing with. You are a Nazi, Hutch. You are a Nazi.
So there is a guy who was like a Call of Duty YouTuber. He was a Call of Duty YouTuber or a Twitch streamer or something.
Okay, chat. We're going to come back to Hassan Piker and Doomscroll, but we got to make fun of Hutch first, okay? I've been waiting for this for so long. BADEMPANDA finally makes fun of Hutch. I wish I knew he was going to make this video. I wish I knew he was going to make this video because Hutch owes me money.
And no, man. And that was like a bald 40-year-old man who just posts the most vile Zionist propaganda you've ever seen in your life. Is this guy right here, Hutch. 800k subs, gets like 10k views per video, chatting with Lonerbox, you know, chatting with, I'd do that. The guy who justifies the shooting of children.
Chatting with Lonerbox. Oh my God, pathetic.
In the head, the guy who claimed that slain Palestinian toddlers are actually adult Hamas members.
By the way, I debated Hutch. I don't know if this video still exists. Somebody look for it. But I debated him on immigration policy. And I told him that Joe Biden would betray immigrants and was turning against immigrants. And he tried to pretend that he was the pro-immigrant guy. And everything I said turned out, not only was I right, Biden went on to adopt Trump's immigration policy. Again, that's yet another point that he was dead wrong on.
To justify their slayings, average slop YouTuber. So this guy became like a fanatical genocidal Zionist from Call of Duty YouTuber. What a weird trajectory, right? He's at the level of Zionism where you're not even a liberal Zionist anymore. You can't even claim to that. You're just openly justifying hospital bombings. You're not even trying to hide it. It's of course him reacting to Hassan, right? These guys never they never do anything original. All they do is leech off others. Describes Ethan Klein perfectly as well, by the way.
What I love about these guys is that they're leeches, but they're not though. Like, it's not successful. No matter how much he kisses Destiny's ass, you could just see the followers falling off, the viewership declining, the hours watched declining, the peak viewers declining. Being a Destiny leech does not work because he is stupid. And so the people that think Destiny are smart or is smart are even dumber than Destiny. So nobody's going to watch Hutch. I mean, falling for Destiny, at least he acts like confident. It's just a total failure, man. All right, well, you know, I don't want to make fun of them without looking at my stats. So there's a context. Up 32%, up 44% hours watched, or 41%. Another 11,000 followers gained. Line go up.
He's never made an original piece of content in his life.
Systems under hospitals, and that is part of the reason why Israel is bombing hospitals.
Does anybody dispute
bombing
this?
hospitals is a war crime.
No.
Everybody does. Everybody does. I'll give you an example. Like, Hutch is such a stupid piece of shit. Like a legitimate stupid piece of shit. They said that Hezbollah has gold under a hospital in Lebanon. And in Lebanon, foreign media hasn't been kicked out. So the BBC went to the hospital and had complete free reign of the entire hospital. And they found fucking nothing. They lie.
Well, we're on level -2 in the Al Sahel hospital. Now, the hospital staff are adamant that there is no hidden bunker here containing millions of dollars of cash or gold, as the Israelis have claimed. They say this is just a hospital where patients were being treated last night and where they had to be evacuated from the emergency area at great speed because doctors were worried for the lives of the patients and also worried for the staff.
So in other words, Israel claims that hospitals are used as now in Gaza, no foreign journalists are allowed to go in. But in Lebanon, Israel said, we're going to bomb this hospital. It's the headquarters of Hezbollah's gold storage operation. And the BBC went there and there was no evidence whatsoever. They were caught red fucking handed. And now you know why Israel kills hundreds of journalists and bans foreign journalists from going into Gaza, because all they do is lie because they're doing a goddamn genocide. And this isn't Al Jazeera. This isn't some sort of pro-Palestinian news source. This is the BBC. The BBC went to this hospital, investigated everything, and they said that Israel lies.
You heard his reaction to that? Hassan said that Israel is justifying the bombing of hospitals by saying that Hamas has command centers on a hospital, something that there's no evidence for. And bold Call of Duty YouTuber here, his response was to say, does anyone deny that? Does anyone think that's not real? Yeah, literally everyone, actually. Literally everyone except the IDF and Zionists like you. Yes, actually.
To be clear, and I'm not saying all hospitals should be bombed, but
not all hospitals should be bombed, okay? Just some of them.
there's no such thing as like a building that is exempt from bombing if it's a valid military target.
Gone back and
This is why gatekeeping exists. For people like Hutch not to be allowed to talk. That's like saying there's no such thing as murder as long as you're killing someone in self-defense. If you are being accused of killing someone and then you say, I did it in self-defense, you're admitting to having intentionally killed the person. You're admitting everything. That's actually really risky because the hardest thing about convicting someone at court is beyond a reasonable doubt. So when you come forward and say, I killed him in self-defense, the burden of proof now goes on to you to prove that self-defense was justified. So that's the same thing is true with hospitals. Hospitals are protected under the Geneva Conventions. Schools are protected. Religious institutions and civilian institutions are protected under the Geneva Convention. Now you can rebut that protection with evidence that they're being used in active military activities, or you have to rebut that protection. Hospitals are protected. You have to rebut that with evidence, or else it's a presumed war crime. So if you destroy every hospital and every school and every university, you can't say, oh yeah, they're using them, and just throw that out there as a justification. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was the minimal, most proportionate response and that the veil of protection was lifted because it was used as an active military. And by the way, somebody going there for treatment doesn't make it a military zone. If I am a Hamas soldier and I'm injured and I go to a hospital to get treatment, that doesn't mean you can bomb the fucking hospital. It has to be used as a active piece of infrastructure for the military to lose the veil of protection. You cannot just bomb it because somebody in the enemy was at an apartment building or was at a fucking hospital or was at the church. No, if they're not using it for military operations, then it's not a valid target. Like, this is actually insane how stupid Hutch is.
That's not true at all either. You're not allowed to bomb anything to attack any building if the toll of doing so is disproportionate to the military advantage. And bombing a hospital can pretty much never, ever, ever, ever be proportionate to the military advantage gained from that bombing. There's practically...
That's actually a specific breach of the Geneva Convention. Enemy combatants who are not actively attacking you are entitled to first aid. Exactly! You're not allowed to bomb hospitals if people are not engaged in military, and just being in Hamas doesn't mean that you are engaged in active military activities. That's the entire reason we have the Geneva Convention. The whole reason.
No situation where that could be justified, where it's not a war crime. Not to mention that the idea that there are military targets in the hospital is a fucking lie. You cannot and will not provide any evidence for it, aside from like the IDF fucking planting easily movable weapons in basements that they themselves built on the El Shifa hospital, which no one ever fucking bought. What a disgusting freak.
On it, and you called it a war or whatever. But having said that, in your conversation with Sam Cedar, you thought you had a gotcha.
I'm not sticking up for bombing every hospital. I'm saying if you set up shop in a hospital, you make that hospital a valid military target.
Hutch is one of those people who legitimately would have been a Nazi in World War II because he fell for every Nazi talking point instantly because he's a dope. Dumber than rocks.
You factually do not make it a military target by default. It's deal with proportionate advantage. 2, you don't have any fucking evidence they did that in the first place. You're still spreading it.
Here's the International Committee of the Red Cross. Protection of hospitals during armed conflicts. What the law says. This is from 2023. According to international humanitarian law, health establishments and units, including hospitals, should not be attacked. This protection extends to the wounded and sick, as well as medical staff and means of transport. This rule has few exceptions. In times of armed conflict, the wounded and sick include anyone, whether military or civilian, who needs medical attention and is not or no longer taking part in hostilities. Under international humanitarian law, all wounded and sick, no matter what party they belong to, enjoy general rights to be respected, not to be subject to attacks, killing, or ill treatment, protected, a right to be assisted and shielded from harm against third parties, searched for and collected, and cared for without distinction based on grounds other than medical ones. Does that sound like what Israel is doing? Although the IAHL allows to search for, collect, and provide care as far as practicable, in other words, taking into consideration the security conditions and the means available, a lack of resources does not justify inaction. Even in cases where such resources are limited, state and non-state parties to a conflict must accomplish their best efforts to ensure medical care to the wounded and sick. Does that sound like Israel? Does that sound like Israel to you? Again, International Committee of the Red Cross, not Hamas, not lefty propagandists, the most neutral third party that exists in the fucking world. This is what Hutch is disagreeing with. You are a Nazi, Hutch. You are a Nazi fuck. God damn, what a scumbag.
Destiny, go back to what you knew. Too old for it now, so this is what you're doing.
Not something to be celebrated, but you can't disagree with me. You can just look it up.
How is that? You can't disagree with me. You could just look it up.
Why don't you look it up yourself?
I mean, honestly.
This isn't something that's like, oh, I have an opinion.
Pro-Zionist. Would you like to explain that?
Jesus Christ. So that's your taste of Hutch. That's your taste of the wonderful Zionist Hutch. He denies genocide with the most vile, disgusting talking points imaginable. If I were committing a genocide, I would probably at least kill people faster than the birth rate in the region.
This is actually the dumbest talking point you will ever encounter by people like Hutch, who are dumber than dirt. Okay, this is the thing that's incredible. Hutch thinks that projections that were based on pre-war conditions means that the population is currently growing. It's like they have a graph that was graphed out 3 years ago when there wasn't a genocidal war going on, showing population increasing in Gaza, and they go, oh man, what a shitty genocide. The population is growing according to these projections. And it's like, they can't do evidence anymore. They've destroyed all the civilian infrastructure, you dumbass. They're not doing new projections. They've destroyed all the housing. They destroyed every hospital. They destroyed every school. They're starving. These projections are no longer valid, you dumb fuck. But he uses that as an example. He's that stupid. He's that much of a dumb fuck. He actually posts shit like this.
He said this multiple times. He really likes this talking point particularly. So the argument he's making here is based off birth rates from before October 7th. Like, obviously there can't be a genocide because if you look at the like FBI world fact,
like, this is what causes me to lose my mind. Like, the amount of you can't be serious right now. Like, this is one of the problems with people like Hutch and Destiny, is they say shit that's so dumb that if you're educated on these issues, you can't even anticipate how stupid they are.
Book statistic, which is an estimation based off the previous year statistics. It says so. It's an estimation. It's not an actual real statistic. That thing that he's undoubtedly referring to here, because it's the source that all these Zionists have used, and this guy doesn't have original thought in his body, he gets it from other people. It's literally a made-up estimation based off the trend from before October 7th, you dumb fuck. So this talking point is a fucking total joke. It's just disgusting. Like, you're talking about birth rates? He goes on to say, 1 million were evacuated over 3 weeks to safe zones, north and northwest. This happened, and Biden pressured Israel to allow it, and that's good, actually. He frames it as actually humanitarian, safe zones. Anyway, yeah, what a piece of shit. Unbelievable. From playing shoot a video game for like 12-year-old boys who say the N-word, to advocating for genocide, to a whopping 100 viewers. How does this shit happen? What a fucking shit world we live in. What a joke.
It's crazy, man. It's actually crazy how pathetic Hutch is. And speaking of how pathetic Hutch is, let's not forget that he is actually one of the dumbest pieces of shit who has ever lived. Hutch, you still owe me $1,500 for the 2 bets you lost. 1, Joe Biden would win the 2024 presidential election campaign. 2, Donald Trump would be put in prison for his crimes for longer than 30 days by January 21st, 2025. Pay up. And here are the receipts. You'd be down to take me up on a $1,000 bet that Trump ends up incarcerated after all these trials? Basically, the bet was prison for Trump for 30 days or more before January 21st, 2025. You win 1,000. If not, I win. August 1st, 2023. Immediately after his message at 2:27 p.m. Okay, I could talk. here's another bet. So the bet is Biden wins the 2024 presidential election. If he does, you get 500. If not, I get 500. Assuming he runs against Trump, yeah, he's the incumbent. If he's not president in 2025, I win the bet. I'll accept a $500 bet with those terms. And by the way, those were easy. I knew that Joe Biden would lose in November of 2021. Why did I know that? Because he didn't pass anything. He had a trifecta and he didn't pass anything of significance. And I knew all the problems in our society were going to get worse and people were going to be turning against him and that he was going to be a failure. Hutch bet me $1,000 that he couldn't find a reference. I couldn't find a reference to Ethan Klein as assigning collective guilt to Arabs for instances of anti-Semitism. You're all witnesses. Hutch owes me $1,000. This motherfucker never pays. He never pays. Stop making bets with Hutch.